Welcome back to Cardcaptor Sakura Anime Review Part 2. I was hoping to get this review up like a couple days at least yesterday, but I got distracted with many other things. But now, for this episode, instead of covering just episodes 6 through 10, I'm going from 6 to 14. Yes, I'm covering at least 9 episodes. First, let's start with episode number 6. Called Seeing is Believing. hmm Yeah, this is the episode's debut of the illusion card. Yes, I was seeing ghosts and seeing these strange things. Yeah, it's all caused by illusion card. Yep. Nothing really big of note in this episode, except for one thing. First appearance of the character Lee. Yep, the character who would later fall in love with the main character. Yep, he makes his debut at the end of this very episode. Doesn't do anything, just stands there. Interesting way. I mean, it's the only time in the series I can think of where they debut, like an episode I've seen anyways, where they debut a new character at the end of an episode. Sailor Moon did this a lot whenever they first started ending the Sailor Scouts. They always had them show up at the end of an episode just prior to the first full appearance in the series. Yeah, Sailor Moon did this for like all the Sailor Scouts. It's an okay episode. hmm Next one's called Mysterious Painting. Yeah, this is one is basically has a little boy, which revealed to be a little girl at the end of the episode. Try to break a museum because his painting looks different. It does not look where it's supposed to be, and he tries to basically fix it by basically getting rid of the woman that's painting over whatever's there. And Sakura, and the next day, Sakura just happened visiting the same museum with her class, runs into the little boy, sees the painting, and yes, that she notes it's different, and she figures the little girl's name via her name tag falling off her backpack. Okay, yeah, and it turns out this is not something that was painted on there. Nope, this was the silent card. Yep, which this was defeated by using the shuttle card and just putting out that way from outside. It's the only time in the series this is the first wave actually from the actual card itself. For a turn back to the illusion one, they just had simply tapped the air and that was basically it. It was an interesting little episode. They revealed that this little one was a girl, which they revealed is because the painting was actually by her late father, and the painting actually was a painting of her. That's what she was said about. This was an okay episode. Lee has his first full appearance in this episode. He doesn't do anything at all. I mean, he doesn't interact with the characters hardly. I think he tries, but not really. No. Next one, Sakura's. Actually, it was episode 7 made his debut of this character. Yeah, 7. And Sakura basically has the first appearance. They explain the character a little bit of his backstory, where they explain that he's basically distant relative of Cloud Reed, the guy who created the Cloud cards. Yep, this one. What card is involved in this episode? Let's see. This one was all about Thunder card. Yeah. Aside from the first appearance of Lee, there's nothing really much to this episode aside from explaining who the heck he is, and it turns out that the whole thing was true. Ooh, this one, number 9, the double-edged sword. Yeah, this is the episode debut of the sword card, which that's going to play in another episode briefly. In this episode, you have Sakura, Tamio, Tamio, I think that's her name, and a friend of theirs go to a shop where they buy brooches with their allowance money. Yeah, according to Sakura, yeah, that means I buy this, I can't buy any candy. Probably don't need much candy anyways, you're a little girl. So she buys one, basically shape of a heart and wings. As for her friend, she buys one that's shaped of a sword. And it turns out that, yep, this is the sword card. this brooch is the sword card. And basically, whoever holds this card becomes a really good swords person. Yeah. Sakura defeats it. I mean, Lee is there. He doesn't do anything. Yeah, he just blocks the sword. Yeah, in this episode, he's practically useless. He just saves Sakura once, and it's up to Sakura to simply, well, tame the sword. And the sword is turned back to a card. Simple as that. It's one of two cards where the picture is basically a bunch of chains surrounding the other course is another card that shows up a little bit later. Yeah, for Lee showing up, yeah, this episode is pretty useless. Yeah. Oh yeah, this one also has Lee try to fight Sakura's brother, and then Yukito shows up and he just runs away from him. Because apparently he's fawning over him too. Yeah. At this point in the series, it's never explained why in the world he's so nervous and blushing at another guy. It's particularly very weird. Next episode, Sports Day. This one has debut of Tomito's beautiful mother, who they review many things about this woman. One, she knows Sakura's parents. She actually is an old friend of her mother's. This woman was actually, believe it or not, actually opposed to her wedding to the man who later became Sakura and her brother's father. They compete with each other a lot, and, well, her mother has no problem with Sakura. She actually adores Sakura. I mean, she treats her like another daughter to her, which is fine. Heck, they sort of expand upon this in the very next episode, which I thought was really good. And the whole thing about this one is that there's a bunch of Sakura petals pop up places. It's been popping up the whole episode. It turns out this is something about the flower card. Turns out this card shows up whenever there's a sports day or some other big event. This is a pretty easily defeated card. No really major threat. Though Lee once again basically tries to help, but he's stopped by somebody who's a classmate. I'm like, dude, he wants to go see what the heck is going on. Why are you blocking him for? Yeah, this by far is never explained. I get the fact, yeah, supposed to keep an eye on stuff, fine. He's technically doing what he's supposed to do. Why are you blocking him for? Heck, he even tries to tackle him to prevent him from helping trying to stop. Why these Sakura petals? I mean, there's so many. Wouldn't that cause concern? At least Lee basically is not an idiot. This other guy is a complete idiot. And apparently, here's the thing. It's also, he's one of those traditional anime characters where he walks around with his eyes closed. Yep. And I keep wondering, how the heck can this guy see? He's walking around like he's freaking blind. Yeah, many anime series know for doing this. Have at least one character who walks with their eyes closed. Yeah, half the time there's no explanation for this at all. But most of the time I think that some artists basically for either anime or manga are really lazy when it comes to drawing eyes. Yep. That was some of the whole bit of this episode. Next one, the special box, which is basically a follow-up to the last one. Yep. Yeah. Tamio was invited over by Sakura over to her house, and she basically comes to the front gate, introduces herself, and of course Kira decides to tag along because why not? And probably because Tamio probably heard that probably in front of her head time she was coming, comes in, Tamio meets at the front door. Normally something like this would be something for a servant, not somebody who is a resident of the place, but okay. Go in, meet one of the maids that sees the room, and then Tamio's beautiful mother shows up again. And they talk to each other for a pretty good period of time. They basically talk about how Sakura's parents met. They talk about some good memories of Sakura's beautiful mother. It's overall really good character bit for her, though she does not appear in the next episode. And then, of course, she had to take a phone call to take one piece of cake that they just happen to have, take it back to Kyo. Take it back to Cerberus. He eats it, no problem at all. And basically, she feels why she invited him. In this box, there is this special things that are precious to her and her mother, but she can't open it. And it turns out that according to Cerberus, this is the shield card. Okay, so the best way to defeat this thing, take out the sword card. Slice that really good. Slice the shield, starts back normal. Turn it back to the card. Bam, done. And then they unlock this box. What's inside? a bouquet of flowers, which apparently Sakura's mother gave to Tamio's mother on her wedding day. So apparently she kept these flowers with her for the past 11 years. What did they have? Apparently these were cherry blossom flowers. And it was hinted at in the previous episode that Sakura is named after this, which according to I think her brother, who says, yeah, that if she has a girl, the first one called Sakura. Yeah, they hinted at last week in the previous episode, and this episode they pretty much follow up with it. And turns out there's something else in this particular box. Yes, this is basically revealed after Sakura basically goes to another room. Yeah, Cerberus basically sees this. This apparently is the first gift that Tamio got from Sakura. What's inside this thing? An eraser. This is very heavily implying that she might be in love with Sakura, just like her mother was in love with Sakura's mother. Overall, really good episode. Next one. The episode's Groundhog Day episode. Yes, in anime we have a Groundhog Day episode, basically repeating the days again. This is probably by far the first series I can think of where they actually did this. Yes, of all the anime I watched, I have never seen it where they actually a Groundhog Day episode. Yeah, this is something. Repeat multiple days over again. Turns out this is caused by the time card. Takes form of an old man and a sand spinning glass. Yep, that's the causes. Lee, of course, is pretty useful in this episode. Yep, though she may bit bot blocks the cake a third time, basically apparently hit his nose. And he gets up to the tower, and also Sakura is an outfit in this episode that was made by Tamio in the last episode that she get a chance to wear when she took on the sword card. But she got a chance to wear in this one. So they defeat this thing with the combination with help of Lee, who uses his thunder magic to trap him, and then Sakura seals him. Apparently he takes the card anyways because, well, he trapped his time spell for some reason. Yeah, this is not though explained, but it does help out Sakura in another episode. This overall was a good episode. It's cool. It's a fun little story. Next one, Powers Ploy. Yep, this one is a pure fun of an episode. They go to they go not to a park, but a zoo. Yes, of course they show off the episode opening up with this thing like something is stomping up the ground and then turning this emperor penguin. They call it King Penguin a dub, but basically it's emperor penguin. Turn it upside down. Yeah, this is later explained to be the power card causing this thing. Yes, the power card, which is really tiny. And his power card also can look like a freaking elephant, also causing severe damage to the actual zoo they actually visit later on in the episode. Yeah, when it is later. Yeah, they go to the zoo, and just a fun little thing. Lee, of course, tries to help out. Well, he helps out very little in this episode, unlike in last week, basically, where a lot of the time, he just is pretty useless. So, pretty much like with this episode, basically, she decided to play tug of war with the power card. Though, with the help of the elephants, they're able to win. Sort of, anyway. That's from Sakura's perspective. Basically, Lee froze time, takes it up out of her hand so she could take the power card. I'm surprised they didn't call this the strength card, because that's what this card is. Basically, a strength. It's basically super strength. Power cards. The name power cards is power is fine. I would have called it strength card as well, but it's perfectly fine. And then basically, it's like, okay, we have this card now. Perhaps we can do something with it. Perhaps we can turn the penguin back right side up. And of course, well, Tamio takes a picture of it. And Yukito basically sees it. Doesn't think much of it. And that's the episode for that one. This one is the last one I'm going to cover is Play Misty for Tori. This one is actually quite interesting. Yeah, Sakura and Tamio and Lee go to a culture festival at the high school that Sakura's brother goes to. We also get a chance to see, well, teenagers acting like teenagers, well, the way they did back in the late 90s. Anyways, yeah. So it turns out that there's this one redhead girl who's actually in love with Sakura's older brother. And of course, she tries to confess to him later. He doesn't respond to it at all. Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. So, they talk about this briefly, and of course, we see that Yukito's in charge of one of the things at this cultural festival involving like sweets and soda. Turns out Lee is there. He drinks like a whole boatload of soda, implying that he might. And there's a funny gag that Lee might be drunk. Yeah, because all the bottles he's been given. So yeah, it's very heavily implied that Lee might be drunk, which he isn't. And they go see a play of Cinderella, and it's a reverse gender one. Like you have the guys playing the girl parts, and you have the girls playing the guy parts. Yeah, Sakura's brother plays Cinderella, and I think her name is Okito, the redhead woman. She, of course, plays the prince. Okay, and the play goes pretty fine up until the green mist shows up. Yeah, this turns out the mist card. I love this particular sequence, how they introduce it. Just shows up at the school, goes to the windows, just creeps along in, and then apparently this mist is strong enough to basically collapse wood. It eats up something and eats up the stuff, and looking up that I'm trying to remember her brother's name. It's Toya. Yeah, Toya, her brother's name. hmm Yeah, yeah. So he nearly falls, but saves Akito, and so they gotta get rid of the mist card. So they use basically the shadow card to consume this whole thing, and they transfer it back to a card, but think it's still collapsed. But lucky enough that Lee steps in, Lee's with him, goes up to the other room, and uses his sword to basically sort of make a special wind to basically slow down their fall. And of course, well, then later on, they go to the roof. She confesses her feelings for him, and he does not reciprocate at all. He doesn't say anything to it at all. But she invites him to dance on the bonfire. He says to her, like at the first dance, "You're the first girl I've danced with." I have no idea this relationship was anyway, because this character, I don't remember if it appears in the manga or not. And of course, then you have Akito takes out Sakura dancing on the thing. Yeah, it's a fun little episode. It's really enjoyable. And it's also hinted that Toyo might be suspecting something's going on with Sakura. Yes, because he might be suspecting that Sakura is hiding something from him. Because he looks up at the area where Sakura was with Lee. Yeah, he suspects something might be going on. Not really, he doesn't talk to her about it at the end of the episode, but it's a pretty fun episode. I would say that of these 9 episodes, I would say probably the weakest one out of all of these is probably, well, I would probably say, 6 is kind of a weak episode, but I would say the strongest episodes out of these ones, in my honest opinion, are episodes 9 through 11. These three, 9 through 12 are really damn good episodes. I would definitely say from 9 to 14, these episodes are all really good. 8 is okay, it's not really noticeable. 7 is actually pretty quite enjoyable. I enjoy stuff basically when you go to an art museum, but it's fine. I've been to one art museum I've been to 2 of them. First I went to, bored. Really bored. I wasn't really a big fan of art museum. I went to the Met. That one I actually liked. The first I went to, I was so bored going to an art museum. Yep. Not much else to say about these 9 episodes, but they're pretty good with the exception of episode 6, which is a really weak episode in my honest opinion. Yeah, I would say second weakest is probably episode 8. I mean, the other thing you can probably say is the most interesting about the episode is the introduction of Lee and the explanation of his connection to Cloud Reed. That is basically it. The card itself introduced in the episode plays nothing at all. And also, Lee, a lot of the time in these episodes, with the exception of 2 episodes, he does pretty much jack frickin' squat. Like, in the sword episode, he does nothing except block the sword. That's all he does. Yeah, the special box episode, he's not even in the episode itself. No, he isn't. The sports day episode, he practically useless. And there's a good reason why. Because the fact that for some strange reason, his classmate does not want him to help figure out what the heck is causing these Sakura petals. Yeah, his job is to keep an eye on anything is wrong. Something is clearly wrong when you see 1,000 petals nearly drowning people. Dude, what the heck is your problem? This character shows up also in the zoo episode. He blabbers on stuff that actually is quite true, and these other kids think that this other stuff is basically spouting lies. I'm sure a lot of this stuff is probably true about a sloth, but yeah, this character is pretty much a stupid character. I'm not sure why he's even here anyways. Yeah, not much to say about these 9 episodes. Okay? So yeah, that's it for this particular review. 2 more reviews I'm going to do right now. First, of course, we review the newest chapter of My Hero Academia. The other, of course, we review of the newest chapter of Attack on Titan. The only review I plan to do after these 2 is we review of the newest episode of Fire Force, okay? But see you in the next view. Bye.